The night was alive with music, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Our friends had gathered for what was supposed to be a simple celebration, but beneath the sparkling chandeliers, something darker was unfolding. I had noticed it earlier, the way he looked at her, the way she laughed a little too long at his jokes, the subtle brush of his hand against hers when no one was watching. I tried to ignore it, tried to convince myself I was imagining things. But instincts rarely lie. She had slipped past me earlier in the evening, dazzling in her dress, her smile effortless, leaving me with the uneasy feeling that something was off. I kept my distance, mingling with friends, pretending everything was normal, but my eyes never left her. Then it happened. He approached her on the dance floor, tall and confident, and without hesitation, took her hand. She didn't pull away. She didn't even look at me. The music swelled, and they moved together as if the world had shrunk to only the two of them. I felt my chest tighten, the pulse in my ears drowning out everything else. People were laughing and clinking glasses, oblivious to the tension building just a few feet away. I didn't act immediately. No dramatic shouting, no storming across the room. I wanted to see how far it would go. I watched as they twirled, their bodies close, their smiles too intimate for what should have been a harmless dance. Something inside me snapped, not in anger, but in calculated clarity. I realized that this moment could be my statement, my way of revealing what she had thought she could hide. I walked slowly toward them, a drink in my hand, smiling politely at anyone who made eye contact. Their laughter rang in my ears as I neared the dance floor. She looked up at me briefly, a flicker of guilt crossing her face, but it was too late. The next move was mine. In one smooth motion, I stepped into their space, placing my hand on hers, lifting it gently from his grasp. The music continued, but the world seemed to pause. Everyone nearby noticed the sudden interruption. He froze, eyes widening, unsure of how to react. She looked stunned, her lips parting, trying to find words. But the expression on my face, calm, controlled, unyielding, silenced her. "I think you've had enough dancing for one evening," I said, my voice low but audible, carrying across the floor. "Why don't you sit down and enjoy the party?" It wasn't a question. It wasn't an accusation. It was a statement, a clear boundary. People around us turned to watch, sensing the tension, feeling it in the air. He smiled awkwardly, trying to mask his discomfort, but I could see it, he knew he had overstepped. She tried to laugh it off, a nervous little sound, but the confidence she had worn like armor all night was crumbling. I guided her toward a nearby chair, leaving him standing on the dance floor, the realization settling in. I didn't shout. I didn't make a scene. I let the silence do the work. The room held its breath, waiting for the next move. Once she was seated, I leaned in close enough for only her to hear. "You think you can hide this? You think no one sees? But actions have consequences, and tonight, the truth has a way of finding its stage." Her hands shook slightly in her lap. I could see the fear in her eyes, not just fear of me, but fear of being exposed in front of everyone, fear of the shame that she had ignored for too long. The realization that I had known, that I had seen everything, seemed to hit her harder than any words I could have said. I turned to face the crowd, raising my glass with a polite nod. "To honesty," I said, my voice firm. The words were simple, but their meaning resonated. Everyone felt it. The shift in energy was palpable. People began murmuring, glances exchanged across the room, sensing the unspoken story playing out before them. She tried to speak, to explain, to apologize, but I didn't give her the satisfaction. The shock, the tension, the exposure, that was punishment enough. Her facade of control had shattered in seconds, and she knew it. He lingered awkwardly, his smile gone, realizing that the night had turned against him as well. I walked away then, leaving her to process the consequences, leaving him to stand alone on a floor that now felt colder, less inviting. The party continued around us, but the atmosphere had shifted irreversibly. She thought she could hide her intentions behind charm and laughter, but the truth, like it always does, had a stage. And tonight, everyone had witnessed it. Later, I found her sitting quietly, staring at the floor, no words left to be spoken. I didn't need to say anything more. The lesson had been delivered, clear and unforgettable. Betrayal, when carried too far, has a way of unraveling in public, and the shock that followed our little dance on the floor would stay with her far longer than any whispered apologies ever could. That night, I realized something else: strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, composed, and deliberate. Sometimes it's the ability to reclaim control without losing dignity. The stunning blow didn't come from anger, from confrontation, or from yelling. It came from clarity, from presence, from letting the truth speak louder than any accusation ever could. By the end of the evening, the music had faded, the lights dimmed, and the guests had left. But the memory of that moment, when he danced with my wife, and the world paused for the revelation that followed, lingered, unshakable. She would never forget it, nor would anyone who had witnessed it. And for the first time in a long while, I felt the quiet satisfaction of having reclaimed my peace and my power.